with UDF training, we've got some things going on in this wing that are kind of particular to UDF. We need to really build our UDF skills. I think everybody agrees and everybody recognizes that. And we've got some really broken equipment that's getting very long in the tooth and needs some repairs. So in this SARX that's coming up, I want people to work with the equipment that you have, try to teach the fundamental skills. Yes, hypothetically, National is going to give us some new equipment someday, but let's not bank on that now. And let's not get too hung up on what's coming or what it should be or what's going on. Let's just focus on those basic skills that we want all UDF team members to be able to do. And I'll start with the thing that I'm going to try to drive home and make sure everybody really gets it, is that when you're in the field doing UDF, and the only way that they're going to do it is if you teach it this way, is that they always report their position and the bearing that they have. And if they report their position and bearing like 150 times, the base staff will love it because they can plot 150 times the position and bearing, the position and bearing. You can be driving down the street, position and bearing, position and bearing. And what that does is it gives the base staff not just resolution and visibility, but it allows you to sort of help the ground team. Because some of these position and bearings that the ground team has, yes, they may be doing a great job of writing them down on the map and writing them down, you know, on the hood of their car. But if there's an error, or if they're not seeing the big picture, or they don't have, you know, the luxury of being able to sit back at the large computer screen and plot all these and say, you know what, okay, this one was extraneous and this one isn't extraneous, but they all seem to be focusing in on this area over here, the base staff can really assist. Position and bearing is what we need. So the first thing is position. And GPS is great. I really do want people to be able to give me GPS coordinates. I need to be able to give them GPS coordinates and have them go to that location. But even more fundamental than GPS skills, when you're talking about UDF, it's map and compass. So compass is obvious when it comes to the bearing, right? You've got a signal. I kind of know where it's coming from. I think it's this thing over here. Teach them to take good bearings. We use that compass to be able to pick a distance, an object out in the distance, sight on it, use the compass, take a deep breath, get a good reading. You know, give me a compass bearing plus or minus 2 degrees. That's what we always ask for. Sometimes they're giving it to me like plus or minus 10 degrees, which is a little more tricky, but plus or minus 2 degrees, that's the goal. And that's the skill that we're trying to teach when we're teaching UDF. So when it comes to teaching UDF, that's where I like to start. I like to start with the compass work. I like to start with teaching them to be able to pick items, pick targets. And it's something you can do at the squadron. It's something you can easily do in the parking lot. It's something you can do, you know, whether it's night or day. Because at night, you can do the same thing. You can pick a beacon or a bright light and take a bearing and practice doing it at night, practice using your flashlights. So starting with the compass work, that's really what I want to kind of emphasize. Then the map work. Obviously, people are pretty good at, you know, getting in their car and driving around. So they're pretty good at, you know, navigating by the map, but they're not always great at saying, okay, I was in the Safeway parking lot and the compass bearing I had was a 240 degrees, actually using the pencil, writing on the map and doing that skill. So yes, it's something that seems hypothetical or it seems theoretical. And yes, it's great that you can just read the coordinates off to the incident commander or whoever's the ground branch director and say, you plot it for me. And that works. And the, you know, the branch director and the people who are sitting in front of the computer back in the base can do it, and they can use Google Earth and they can correct for datums and declination and magnetic variation, and they can do all the things to help the guys in the field. But the guys in the field should also be able to, at the end of the UDF search, come back in with a map that has pencil marks all over it of all the bearings they took from all the different locations. When you're teaching UDF, it's easy to kind of go through the squitters, and it's easy to say, well, UDF is a precursor to ground teams, so we want to start talking about PAC Check, and we want to worry about field sanitation and hygiene and all this other stuff. And I would say, right now in Hawaii Wing, what we need is people that can go out into the field, safely drive around in their cars, report position and bearing, and just stay on the pavement. So don't worry about the PAC, don't worry about all the things. There's always a McDonald's nearby, you can go use the latrine. So that's what we want to kind of focus on, and that's what we're going to try to do for this SARX that's coming up, is really work on our on-pavement skills. The other thing that you can do that's easy on a meeting night is, I call it the end game, because if anybody's a chess player, sometimes you teach kids when they're playing chess how to kind of do the last few moves. So it's easy to get permission from the airport on a meeting night, you know, tell the FAA we're going to be setting off a 121.775 in the parking lot on this night at this time, and you just set the thing out there in the parking lot and let people do the end game, do the finish work to figure out exactly where the signal is coming from in the close range. And the close range teaches you can do a lot of things just in the parking lot, teaching the skills. It's not just about getting, you know, the bearing and being able to say, okay, I think we're going to go 5 miles this way. It's being able to say, you know what, as I'm walking, I can hear the signal getting stronger. As I'm walking, I see the needle fluctuating. That means I'm probably on a back bearing. As I'm walking, and it's not just, remember, when you're doing these parking lot skills, it's not just about find it, right? You want to remind people that, you know, everybody needs to get their hands on the sticks. Everybody needs to be able to do the skills. And it's not just about, okay, we found it, the whole team is done. It's about each person having a turn, each person in the group being able to see how the needle centers. And again, I don't know what equipment you have, but if you have the old style ELPer, each person needs to understand what VF mode is and what receive mode is and why those are different, and see how it reacts. So even if you put the beacon right in the center of the parking lot so it's totally obvious to everybody where it is, that sort of takes the fun out of it, yes, but it reminds people that they're working on skills. They're not just finding the beacon. So finding the skills of the end game. The other thing is detuning, right? So as they're getting closer, and obviously if you're starting in the parking lot, you're already there. You already need to start detuning. You know, what does that mean if you're going to 121.6? What does it mean if you're on a training beacon 121.775 and you're all the way off on 121.5 and it's still screaming in your ears, right? How close are you when you hear that? How close does that happen? So teaching those skills of detuning in the parking lot is a great place. Also, I want to throw out the last thing here is body shadowing. If you're using the old style ELPer, take the antenna all the way off. I know it's difficult if you've got a Vectra or one of the sport hunters. You can kind of fold down the antennas, but you can't really take them off. But you can fold them all the way down and you can start detuning and kind of do all the things. And just have the people hold it really close to their body and practice that body shadowing. Practice standing there. They know the beacon is right there in the parking lot. It's obvious. It's got a bright little red light shining. But they're turning their body away till they hear the static. And then they turn it till they just expose the sliver of the beacon to it so that they can see the edge. And then they go, okay, I get it. When I just hear it, then it's right here on my left hip, and that's the direction that the signal's coming from. That's the direction I need to go. So that they learn the body shadowing technique really intuitively. And here in Hawaii, because our equipment is failing, body shadowing is becoming more and more critical. And if you have an airband radio or you have, you know, the means to be able to do it within, you know, with all the antennas off and just using the body of the tuner, you know, let people get used to that. Let people get comfortable with how that works and what it sounds like and what it feels like and how close you have to be for that to be effective. Oh, the last thing I wanted to mention was when you're teaching body shadowing, show people how they can do it with their vehicle, because a lot of times you are out in a capped car. So it's the same thing that you're doing with your body where you're exposing the signal. You can also do it with the vehicle. And I do like doing the vehicle shadowing technique, even when I'm not very close. I'll literally put the vehicle between where I think I hear the signal, I think the signal is, and where I am. And all the metal in the vehicle is going to, you know, bounce and shield and distort the signal. And then I'll just walk around the vehicle with the ELPer until I start to hear a clean, crisp signal. And then I'll walk around the vehicle on the other side until I've really determined that, you know, my vehicle has blocked the signal, and I'm confident that it's over there, that that's the spot where it is. those are all good skills that I think in Hawaii we need to really be able to do and to be able to have people good at. The last thing is that as you're driving around, have the equipment turned on. I don't expect people to have the antennas hanging out the window, and I don't want to see cadets sticking their heads through the sunroof, but I want to know that people are monitoring the signals as they're moving, because if you hear that little blip as you're going, that's where you kind of make a note, safely pull over somewhere, drive back around to that spot again and say, okay, we heard something in this location, and I can give you the coordinates of where that location is. We never heard anything else all night long, but we heard this one little thing. It's still a clue, right? It's still valuable. And then from there, sometimes your base staff can work with you and say, okay, go out of the Safeway parking lot, go up the hill to the Lowe's parking lot. From there, you should have a clear, line of sight if it really is where we think it is, that kind of thing. The base staff can help you with that so that you're not just in the field by yourself doing it. But people have to think while they're doing the UDF, I'm reporting my position and bearing, I'm treating my, staff as an ally, and I'm listening for the signal, whether it's near, far, as we go, all of this stuff.